The illegal activities that are a challenge in most of Africa that we face up here in northern Mozambique include habitat loss through charcoal making, illegal timber harvesting, meat poaching, overfishing of the water resources in the ocean and in the river systems. We have managed to button down most illegal activities, certainly within the reserve and in certain other parts of Niassa. We had some very extensive timber harvesting up in the north along the Rovuma, which fortunately is now semi under control. There's still a bit of a challenge coming from Tanzania. And there is an encroachment towards the reserve, a lot of illegal harvesting, mainly big Chinese companies. Very definitely charcoal production is a big challenge to any of these areas that still have a decent timber resource, and obviously the hardwoods are favorable for that use. At the moment we don't have an issue with charcoal production, but outside the reserve there are certain areas that are really suffering quite heavily. On the western side of the reserve and across onto Lake Malawi, there's a huge amount of charcoal being produced, and most of that is exported to Malawi because Malawi have pretty much cleaned up what they have there. It's incredibly unfair to tackle those people who generally really are living marginally when they see these big Chinese companies coming in and hacking the hell out of really valuable timbers, and they're able to export these products. We have to find alternative incomes for those people who are doing charcoal production, or to find a sustainable way of doing that. And equally, the whole timber industry has to be brought into line. And that just simply won't happen without political will. I'm hoping that possibly one day the gas resources up in the north will be able to be harnessed by households in the bigger towns like Pemba, and you won't have this pressure on the trees. Bushmeat poaching, it's going to be an ongoing issue, and you just simply try to keep that to a bare minimum. We've been really fortunate in LUWIRE that we've had almost no meat poaching for several years, which is also good for the predators, because you have a lot of predators that are killed accidentally going into snare lines because they're attracted by the smell of animals that have been killed in those snare lines. The river systems, we do have a licensing system in place that we can monitor and control, and at this point in time the fishing harvests are still very good on the river. Fish actually make up an incredibly important part of the local economy and of the protein needs of the people in the reserve. So there's a plan afoot at the moment to build a proper fisheries model with breeding sanctuaries, set aside special areas for red list birds such as the skimmers and so forth. That's a long time coming, but it looks like we are finally getting some traction on that. Fortunately, up until now, the threat has been reasonably minimal on the river. During the height of the elephant poaching, there were a lot of Tanzanians moved down into northern Mozambique and into Niassa Reserve. They were putting a bit of pressure on those resources, on the fishing, a lot of illegal nets, small mesh nets and so on being used. Big numbers of fishermen coming in. The Rovuma still has that problem, but fortunately we've cleaned that up on the Lugenda. So at least we have a stable platform to plant that fisheries model onto. The other threat, which is probably our biggest threat at the moment, is from artisanal gold mining, panning in the river systems. So that's an ongoing challenge at the moment. There's always this perception that because it's a reserve, there must be more of a resource in it. So people are tempted to come in and explore. Because they move fairly quickly, they break up into small parties on the upper ends of river systems. They are quite difficult to control. We are fortunate enough to have a helicopter based in the reserve now, and that has been very helpful in trying to address any of the slightly bigger groups that do come in. There are a couple of bigger mines in the reserve that are more of a challenge. We are fortunate that we don't yet have that problem. I think by finding alternate livelihoods and giving people jobs, giving people benefits from this wildlife economy, we are taking away the need for people to go out and engage in illegal activities. And I think that has been fundamental in helping to stabilize the whole area. We've now been managing this block in particular for 24 years. Even with all of the intensive poaching crises, we have largely had a stable situation, and the diversity of game here has managed to thrive. I always say you have to make the effort, even when things are looking rough. You plod on, because the next generation, they'll definitely judge us by whether we shape up or not.